A lot of things to talk about here in today's Michigan Football Report by Chat Sports. We're going to talk about some major schedule rumors that have kind of exploded on the internet. Looking at 2024 Big Ten, you got 18 teams, Oregon, Washington, in addition, of course, to USC and UCLA. We know what the 2024 schedule is supposed to look like, kind of a pretty tough schedule, plus Texas. And now it looks like it's even going to get tougher. Plus, we'll talk about some injuries and take a few of your questions in our Michigan football mailbag last few minutes of today's show. Top story on the show is going to be major rumors on the 2024 schedule. On three, the same guys who said Harbaugh to Minnesota Vikings 18 months ago was guaranteed. Same reporters coming back and saying now he's got a scoop on the Michigan football schedule. I don't have a scoop on it yet, but I'm putting out the word, trying to figure out what is true, what is not. We'll tell you what's being reported out there here in a moment. But I did want to thank everyone who liked yesterday's video, the Monday Michigan Football Report. We wanted to get to 300 likes. We skated past that in under 24 hours, 368 and up. So appreciate everyone who liked yesterday's video. Today's ask, let's subscribe. We're coming up with a milestone. Every 1,000 is a milestone here at Chat Sports, at least. We always announce, you kind of like ring the bell, another 1,000 milestone. We're coming up on one of those. 28,000 is only 127 subscribers away. So hit that subscribe button. Daily Michigan football videos all month long, October, November, into December. National championship game in Houston on January was 8th, 9th, 8th, whatever it is, 8th or 9th. Coming up, Jack and I will be there. All right, how about the word that is out there on the schedule? And I'm not stealing a scoop. I know On3 is a subscription site, but every single person with a Twitter account is reporting what they've reported, so it's out there, so I don't feel that bad, is what I'm calling the 2024 motherload of a schedule. The Big Ten is set to announce the new 2024 schedule in a matter of weeks, focusing on marquee matchups, trying to get the old guard of the Big Ten, the Penn States, the Ohio States, of course Michigan, maybe a little Michigan State, Wisconsin here and there, matched up as many times as possible with USC, UCLA, Oregon, and Washington. Here's a schedule the Big Ten put out a few months back, right? This past spring. We know about the Michigan out-of-conference schedule. Open up the season, Labor Day weekend, Fresno State, then Texas. They might be down next year, too, like Michigan potentially expects to take a step back given all the losses both teams may have. They're both in the top 3 in the polls right now. Next year, maybe a top 25 matchup, but I don't think it's going to be a top 3 matchup by any means. Arkansas State, that's your out-of-conference schedule. Maryland, Michigan State, Minnesota, UCLA, and Wisconsin was set to be the home schedule in some order, not necessarily in that exact order right there. But all that's going to change right now, right? That can't be the same. We know the schedule's still out there. It still says the 2024 schedule, but it's, of course, not going to be what happens. Now, as far as away, what was the away schedule going to look like for Michigan? Illinois, Rutgers, and then probably two of the toughest games, right? If you think about the Blue Bloods in college football, how many times do you have Ohio State and a USC as road games in conference? I'm sure it happens. Teams like go on the road to maybe LSU, Alabama, or something like that, even Michigan, Ohio State. But for a team like Michigan to go on the road to USC and Ohio State, same season, pretty tough sledding there. Now the 2024 home schedule is rumored to still be 8 games for Michigan, right? 8 home games this year. Still going to have 8 home games next year. I like when they have the 8 home games. Certainly makes it easier to win more games when you have 2/3 of them at home. But look what On3 is reporting here. No longer UCLA at home. Now USC coming to Michigan. Now Oregon coming to Michigan, plus Michigan State, right? The Wolverines will head on the road to East Lansing here in about 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks, plus Texas. So you've got a home schedule. Let's just take Michigan State out of the equation for a second. That features USC, Oregon, and Texas. Woo! Then you have 4 more home games of lesser-known teams. Okay, so that's just the home schedule, right? 8 home games. Then you've got the away games. What is the away trip like? Heading on the road to Ohio State, we know that, but also Washington. Okay? A top 10 team right now, Washington, the Washington Huskies, they might take a step back. It's funny. Had the Big Ten been with Washington, Oregon, USC, UCLA this year, you'd have, 6 of the top 9 teams in the polls right now will be in the Big Ten next year. A lot of those teams are going to take a step back because they're losing their quarterbacks, a lot of skill position players, Washington, Oregon, USC, probably Michigan. But we'll see how that shakes out. If this holds true, Michigan will not play UCLA anymore. Okay, so that's a big change. But who else did you not notice there? You didn't notice Penn State, did you? The word out there from you On3, and it's been kind of echoed by others, is that Michigan-Penn State, maybe next year and the year after, might be a sacrifice the Big Ten's going to have to make if they want all these new teams and old teams, the top teams, the marquee matchups that never really play each other, kind of playing each other a little bit there. Michigan, Penn State may be something that's sacrificed for at least a couple seasons. But look, I'm fine. If you're going to be playing USC, Washington, and Oregon, and Texas, and Ohio State, I mean, having Penn State as well, and UCLA, that's a little crazy. So I did see something out there from this College Football Report Twitter account that had all the teams I'm talking about, plus UCLA, plus Penn State. I was like, I think they got their information, their wires crossed a little bit there. But that is the word out there. So if that's the case, folks, Michigan, with all the rebuilding, reloading that they're going to have after this season, that's going to be a hell of a year in 2024. And if Michigan goes 8-4, I wouldn't be surprised given all they're replacing and plus maybe one of the toughest schedules in the history of college football. Next up, we're going to talk some Michigan football injuries, kind of updating some guys who have missed practice, missed games last week or two, and the players that were a little banged up coming out of the Nebraska game this past week. But before we do, I want to tell you guys about Prize Picks. Been talking about them the last few shows, the ultimate daily fantasy sports platform that takes your passion for sports to the next level. With Prize Picks, you can select your favorite athletes in college and pros and just make predictions on whether they're on their performance for a chance to win big. I won yesterday. You guys saw I went under Darren Waller. I went under Daniel Jones, right, from the Giants, and I went over Michigan legend Zach Charbonnet. So I picked 3 over, less or more on those picks, and I got them all right. So my $5 won me $25. I'm taking it up another level, right? For this weekend's game, I'm going less with Dak Prescott. He's going up against the 49ers. I'm going less on his picks. Bijan Robinson having a nice rookie year. I'm going more for him, 81.5 yards. Nico Collins, Michigan legend, more than 52.5 yards. And then we've got DeAndre Hopkins with a terrible quarterback there in Tennessee. I'm going less than 57.5 points. If I get all 4 of those right, I got 3 last night. If I just get those 4 predictions, more or less on the yardage, by $5 I wagered, 10x return, I get 50x. Now I can go 5? I can go up to 25x, right? Is that Jack when you get how many? 6 people. So I'm at 4. Right? I've been trying my luck with 3. Now I'm going to go to 4. 5 win 50. You go up to 6 people for 25 return on your money. So putting just even $5, I would win $125. The simplicity and flexibility of Prize Picks is what I love. You don't have to worry about complex lineups each week or competing against expert players with Prize Picks. As simple as you see there. Pick more or less. The projections that the Prize Picks app has. Now, these are all NFL guys. A couple days from now, Wednesday, Thursday, they will have Michigan players in there. They have players from all across college football can make the same prediction. Prize Picks is the easiest and fastest way to play daily fantasy sports. You win up to 25 times your money. Get your first deposit matched. You see the link at the bottom of the screen, prizepicks.com/CLNS. That's prizepicks.com/CLNS. Use code CLNS for a up to $100 deposit match when you make your first deposit. PrizePicks.com/CLNS. Use that code CLNS. The link is down in the comments and the description of today's video. Early injury report. We are still 4 days away from Michigan heading up to Minnesota. Night game on Saturday. Mike Sainristil, Rod Moore, both banged up. Both didn't play a ton, right? And just in the low teens amount of snaps, Mike Sainristil has been dealing with something, right? Banged up a little bit for the last 2 weeks. Got banged up at the Rutgers game. Still made it out there. Starting out offensive lineman. So we don't know what him or Rod Moore. 50-50 as of right now. Starting offensive line is expected to be the same. Won't see Myles Hinton. Maybe might return from injury. We're not actually sure yet. But he's not going to be in the starting lineup. I think Michigan really likes what they saw from Ladarius Henderson, kicking Carson Barnhart from left tackle all the way out to right tackle. And then Mason Graham. Said, from what I heard from the injury report, he could play if he absolutely had to. He might have some sort of club on his hand or whatever it is, but not expected to play as of now. We'll give it a go, see how things are responding Wednesday and Thursday. They might make a decision on Thursday night whether to play him. My call right now, he's unlikely to make the trip. I'm going to go a do not play, will not play for Mason Graham. So Michigan could be down as many as 3 starters again on the defensive side of the ball, but, Kenneth Grant, Rayshon Trap, Money Benny, and others. Obviously, Chris Jenkins making noise in that interior Michigan defensive line. Really haven't missed Mason Graham. Need him to rest up and be healthy for the stretch of November, which gets wild, right? You got Purdue, you got Penn State, you got Maryland and Ohio State. No need to rush anyone back, right? Just no need to rush anyone back. This Minnesota team, I mean, outside of J.J. McCarthy, not playing, I'm not sure how things would look there, but I think any player in the Michigan starting lineup could sit out, 2, 3, 4 guys, and Michigan should have absolutely no problem beating Minnesota. This Minnesota team is actually one of the biggest disappointments I've seen in all of college football, because when I looked at this schedule at the beginning of the year, I thought that Minnesota road game, and Penn State are potentially the two hiccups Michigan could have before they play Ohio State Thanksgiving weekend. Gonna take some mailbags questions here. We got Tesla Blue. Tesla Blue saying, which is having a better season, offense or defense, in your opinion? I had to think about this for a second, because clearly it's statistically it's the defense. So let's take a look here. All right, answer this question a little deeper. Let's see if you guys know what we're basing it on. So after 5 games, this is where Michigan ranks nationally, 405 yards per game. That's number 60 in the country right now. Okay, cool. Passing, 227, number 73. That's kind of funny how rushing is, 25, 40-ish yards, 43 yards less, but still ranked higher, right? It just shows you how the college football game has gone such a pass-heavy. 73 in passing, number 40 in the country in rushing. Michigan only scoring 34.4 points a game. Look, they kept the starters in, they could be scoring 45, being the top 5 or 10 in scoring. As of now, number 39 in scoring. So that's the take there on the offense. Now, the defense is a little bit different of a story, okay? The ranks on defense are preposterous, a few of them, right? And again, this is just like the offense. Had Michigan kept their starters in later, I think Michigan would be top 3 or 4 in every single one of these. But as of now, number 4 total defense in the country, 245 yards a game. Passing, giving up 160, that's 12. Rushing, giving up 85 yards a game, that's 13th. And then points. One of the great, only giving up 13 points for the first stringers right now. This Michigan defense giving up 6 points per game. I expect that to stay right in that range against Minnesota on Saturday. So I am still more confident in the defense. I think the 2 deep of the defense is as good as any 2 deep in college football, maybe in the last 4 or 5 years, offense or defense. This Michigan football defense is deep. They're loaded. They're talented. And even in the areas, safety and cornerback, that we didn't think that there was a ton of depth. And maybe like, hey, we don't know where we're getting those backups. Those guys have been forced to play, with Rod Moore missing 3.5 games, with Will Johnson missing a couple games. And now you're seeing that pay off, right? I really think now Michigan has 9 or 10 players in the secondary that you would trust going up against any opponent that they have. I mean, Josh Wallace, as that second corner, he actually could be one of the weak spots on the entire defensive secondary at this point. So let me know which one you guys are more confident in. I'm saying the defense as of now. Individual players, I still am most confident in J.J. McCarthy, most confident in Blake Corum on the entire team, but as a unit, I'm going defense. Let me know down in the comments. Type O if it's offense, who you're more confident in down the stretch. Let's just say fourth quarter of the Ohio State game. Would you rather have the ball down 4, or would you rather be on defense down 4? That's what you should base this on. Give me an O or a D. I'm going with a D. Some questions from my post-game reaction tweet. Want to get back to these. I put out a tweet. Give me your reactions right after the game on Saturday against Nebraska. Saw this one, Mr. Ohio. It's at Mr. OH10. He responded to me. He says, life was better when Michigan wasn't good at football. I mean, it's been a decade since Ohio State's beat Michigan, right? Back to 2009. I responded to him. I said, not for me, it wasn't. It was a lot better when Michigan's been beating Ohio State when I was growing up in the state of Ohio. That was a hell of a lot more fun than it was from 2002 to 2021, really only getting, one victory in there, the 2011 season. So thank you so much for the comment, Mr. Ohio. So sorry about your luck, but for this show, you guys remember, I think looking back to 2021, 2 things helped Michigan beat Ohio State. Number 1, it was this slogan, beat Ohio State again. Number 2, if you guys recall, it was my mustache. I said, I'm not shaving this mustache until Michigan's season is over. It ended against Georgia, but the mustache, that got the win against Ohio State. So if you guys are with me on the Bosa train, give me a Bosa down in the comments, B-O-S-A. Beat Ohio State again. I don't know if you saw, Jack, there was a guy sitting in front of me at the Michigan-Notre Dame game, or Ohio State-Notre Dame game, wearing a Bosa 97 jersey. Clearly a big Michigan fan. That's the year they won the national championship. So I'm guessing he was rooting, just like me, Michigan fan, just trying to take in some good football, showing homage to his favorite college football team, the 1997 Michigan football national champions. Okay, keep this bad boy rolling. Some more questions here in our Michigan football mailbag to wrap up the show. Xavier Ely, 105, says Michigan is the most complete team in the country. It doesn't mean they'll win the Natty. I'm confident saying that after this week. I mean, look, who would you take right now? Michigan or Georgia? If you had to bet money on a neutral field, I know your gut says, oh, Georgia, but have you watched Georgia? Have you watched them? They're a tight end-driven offense right now. Okay, I would take Michigan right now. That doesn't say they're going to win, right? I think big game Jim Harbaugh isn't necessarily a thing lately. I would trust maybe Kirby Smart getting his team ready, but I would trust the Michigan players at this point a little more. Michigan, Texas, I'm taking Michigan, right? And that Michigan, Florida State. I think Michigan on a neutral field right now is favored over every single team in college football. That's why we've been saying Houston or bust. You got to make it to the national championship game. You got to give these players, this program, a shot to win the national championship because next year it goes to 12 teams. J.J. McCarthy's probably gone. Blake Corum, all the offensive linemen. You don't know what this program is going to look like. You saw that schedule, right? Next year, reloading year, could end up being a 4-5 loss season, right? You'll be back in 2025. I get it, right? Just relax. Just try to be real here. So I think Michigan needs to give every ounce of ability, whatever they can, to make it to the national championship game. Have this one last shot in the 14th playoff to win a national title. Really, Pink Floyd with a reply on my post-game reaction. He says, total dominations. I thought this was pretty curious because I did see a little chatter on this out there on the greater internet sphere. He says, Mullins, meaning Kalel Mullings, is our second best running back. Clearly, Blake Corum being the number one running back. I'm like, oh, okay. Let's not get overhyped because he had one touchdown. So I said, Jack, pull the stats here. The Don and Kalel Mullings. Now, we're not counting the Don's catches right now. He's got, 12, 15 catches, something like that so far this year. But, 15 carries for Kalel Mullings, one long, 20-yard touchdown run. So if you take that one out, 14 carries for 80 yards, okay. He's a hell of a lot more productive in his opportunities than Donovan Edwards. Edwards got 3 times as many carries as him, only 40 more yards. Mullings averaging 6.7 yards per carry. The Don, look, I love Donovan Edwards, folks. This is not a Donovan Edwards shot here by any means. One touchdown from Mullings, long of only 14 for Donovan Edwards. Is something wrong with the Don at this point? We're 5 games into the season. My son, I played those 2 touchdown runs against Ohio State and then the 2 long runs against Purdue and a few plays against TCU. But I just got my son, 6 years old. Like, the Don is going to be the guy. He just loves Donovan Edwards. He's got 2 jerseys now, and every week we're like, hey, if the Don scores a touchdown, can I get a toy? Can I get ice cream? And I'm making, okay, if he scores a touchdown, we'll get you a toy. Touchdown. You didn't score one this week. We'll get some ice cream tonight if he scores. Okay. How about next week? All right, Preston, you got to wear your Don shirt on Friday to school. You're jinxing him. Where's that? 4th game. Didn't happen. I just don't tell him anymore, right? So Donovan Edwards, no touchdowns so far this year. If you would have told me Donovan Edwards, 5 games in the season, would have 140 yards rushing, no touchdowns in the year, I'd say you're smoking crack or something terrible has happened to him. So what's going on with him? I don't necessarily think Kalel Mullings is a better running back by any means. I think the Don is a generational talent. But this has been one of the most underwhelming 5-game stretches for a superstar Michigan player that, frankly, I can't ever remember. Kalel Mullings got 2 more years of eligibility after this year. He could be the guy, folks, that is your starting running back in 2024. Remember it? Who told you at first? Kalel Mullings. Hassan Haskins 2.0, not crazy to think about. But I'll ask you guys that question on the screen. How many yards rushing will Donovan Edwards have against Minnesota on the road this Saturday? Look, I think it's going to be a breakout game for the Don. I think it's going to be a breakout game for him. I'm going to say 112 yards rushing for the Donovan Edwards. Jack, where Yoder's right, where Yoder's wrong. 112, that's my prediction. Let's make sure on Sunday, Jack, that we revisit that prediction. 112 yards, my prediction. You guys go make yours and see if anybody can get it right. Get it on the dot. You will be my new hero. Predict down in the comments. One more time before we go. I got one more question, actually. So come up in a second, but I did want to make sure remind you guys, subscribe to the channel. Just hit that subscribe button below the video or send the link of the channel, youtube.com/Michigan TV, youtube.com/Michigan TV. Send it to your friends who are Michigan football fans. Tell them to subscribe as we are approaching 28,000 subscribers. And again, thank you if you liked yesterday's video. Like today's if you want as well, but appreciate the ask and you guys coming through for me on Monday. Last one. The best thing about being 4-0, it's at Buckeye Nut 2021. Weird names considering that Ohio State lost to Michigan that year, but maybe that's the year he graduated from Ohio State or something. The Big Ten East is stupid ridiculous. Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State could easily be 3 of the best teams in the nation. Really apt point. The reason I wanted to address this is, you guys remember, I think it was the 2008 season. I'm pretty sure it was. You had Texas, Oklahoma, Sam Bradford, Colt McCoy, and then Texas Tech, right, with Michael Crabtree as the star player there. They all, Texas Tech beat Texas, Oklahoma beat Texas Tech, and Texas beat Oklahoma, right? All 3 teams went 11-1. There was no Big 12 championship game, I don't think, that year. Maybe there was. They were in the same division, whatever it was. But Oklahoma, they lost to Texas but beat Texas Tech. They're all 11-1. It was like the BCS decided Oklahoma made the national championship game. What happens if Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, okay, let's just game plan this out. October 21st, let's say Penn State comes in, they lose to Ohio State in Columbus. Okay, Ohio State probably jumps up into the top 2 or 1 in the country, maybe even jumps over Michigan. Let's say 2 weeks after that, 3 weeks after that, Michigan goes on the road, loses to Penn State. Okay, now Penn State's back up there. They're in the top 5. Michigan probably drops down to 6 or 7 at that point. 2 weeks after that, Ohio State's going to be number 1 or number 2 in the country if they beat Penn State, don't lose any other games. Michigan beats Ohio State at home. They beat the number 2 team in the country, number 1 team in the country, just like the past 2 years. Michigan, did they jump up to number 2 in the top 4? Or is, Penn State just beat them a couple weeks ago? It might come down to who kept the games closest, but what would happen in a scenario where all 3 teams were 11-1? There's tiebreakers out there, which we'll look up, but could there be a scenario where either one of those 3 teams is 11-1 and is the third team, gets snubbed from the college football playoff? The Big Ten gets 2 in. Is there a crazy chance? Is there a wild chance? And don't call me crazy because, teams last year, TCU lost to Kansas State in their game. They still made it. Ohio State lost their last game. They still made it. Is there a chance you could have 3 Big Ten teams in with as bad as the SEC's look, right? We had a couple undefeated teams there. The Pac-12 could take care of themselves. You could all have 5, 6 teams all round robin each other out, 2 losses. Is there a chance when all said and done that there is one team maybe from the SEC, Georgia, with 1 or less losses, and then it's Penn State, Ohio State, Michigan with 11-1 records, and then one of them wins the Big Ten? Could happen. Could be the craziest thing that's ever happened in this last year of a 4-team college football playoff. A year from now, we'll just be kind of jockeying for who's got the number 1 seed, number 4 seed, number 10 seed, who gets home field advantage. But as of now, this could be one of the more wild late October, early Novembers, into late November that we've ever seen in the Big Ten. We'll be back on Wednesday, folks, with another Michigan football report. Until then, go Blue.